Good luck.
Hello, people, Mongoose again, and I've got some pickups from the Retro Games Fair in Leeds to show you. And it seems like ages since I've been able to attend one of these events. We're talking like 6 months. I think the last one I went to was the Super Retro Games Fair in July, and yeah, it was just fantastic to see loads of games, shop for games, and of course catch up with loads of other, YouTube channels, and just, have a bit of crack and a beer with them too. I think that's the main reason I go now. It's great seeing all the games. The fairs are absolutely fantastic, they really are, they're brilliant. If you want to pick up a certain game that you've been after for a while but you haven't been able to find, but also if you want to pick up bargains as well, because you can get, the odd bargain, some underpriced games. The prices vary there, so it's a good place to go around like hunting. And this one was no exception, it was absolutely fantastic. I was daft enough to arrive around the opening time, so I was like queuing around the block. I couldn't get rid of the kids till like 8:30, and by the time we travelled down to Leeds and stuff. But that just goes to show how great these events are. They're starting to outgrow the venues that they're using, because they're becoming more and more popular. And for retro events, and Steve in particular, that's just great. It's obviously shown that these kind of events can flourish, and that's absolutely fantastic. So like I say, I arrived a bit late, queued for a while, but that's me, but I didn't mind standing in queues. And yeah, as I was funneling through, I bumped into a few other YouTube channels, some guys who managed to get there earlier and getting in early. They'd already done their shopping. Chris and Gav from Retro Heads, Tootie UK, Russ Newton, and Lee calling all nerds.
Where's old Russell?
We're kind of, everyone just sort of like funneled past us because they had all done their shopping, and I wanted to go in. But when I got in there, I mean, I was just stood like shoulder to shoulder with people. It was absolutely rammed, it really was. So as far as filming goes, I didn't take any footage.
It's a fucking disgrace.
In hindsight, I probably should have, but it was just, when I was in there the first time, it was just so chocker, you wouldn't have seen anything other than like the backs of people's heads. Tootie said it in his video as well, it was just so packed, you couldn't really see anything. You would have just seen shoulders and heads, and nobody wants to see that. So my intentions were to just have a scout around, which is what we did, and just pick up a few bargains, see what we found. But I've taught myself not to buy on the first go round when I go to these events. I'm usually like, I've got money burning a hole in my pocket, but I thought, no, I'll just wait. So we just had a scout round, and ended up at the bar at the Marriott, and probably that's where I spent my most money, to be fair. I mean, the pints in the Marriott are ridiculous.
You just drink that up right now, young man. Just drink it up right now. We'll have to force it down your throat, hey? Hey?
But the company was fantastic, and yeah, we had a few there, and then we ended up trotting off into Leeds Trinity Centre looking for a bar that we'd heard of where we could play games, and this turned into like a 45-minute hunt for this bar that turned out to be in the Trinity Centre. I just set off from it, and anyway, to cut a long story short, I had to go into like the public information office and kind of ask where there was a bar where we could play games that we'd heard of. And basically the lass comes back to us after thinking and talking to our mate for a couple of minutes, and she comes back with the name Meat Liquor. And it was only a few minutes before we realised it was liquor, as in, like drink, like alcohol, spirits and stuff. But we found the place anyway, and it was great. We could go in there. They had some like independent brewery ales on, so it wasn't your standard beer, which was nice. I had a couple there and played some games as well, some Time Crisis, and I got my arse handed to us on a GoldenEye on the N64 by my mate Alan, who came along with us. And yeah, just absolute fantastic day. But we had a few beers, ended up on Wetherspoons, and I mean, I was well served by this point.
Me? Drinking an innings? Why, I'll tear you limb from limb.
So we went back up there, and I met up with my mate Alan, and I just toured around and picked up a few things. And like I say, I mean, there's loads of stalls there, just loads of sellers. What I'll do is I'll link in the description my other videos where I've shown footage from the previous games fairs and retro games fairs, super retro games fairs too. And you can get an idea, because they're fantastic events. It's just I mean, just so busy on Saturday that I just wasn't able to do any filming. So you can grief us in the comments for obviously not doing any filming.
You fucking dick!
But regardless of no filming, I had an absolute fantastic day, and it was great just to wander around and just, you know, chat with lads I hadn't seen for about 6 months and just have a bit of banter with them and have a drink with them. And yeah, I mean, that's one of the highlights of why I go to these events now. So wandering around and buying games is secondary, but I ended up doing it and I was pretty half cut. But, you know, for having a drink, I did well. I kept my hand in my pocket and I didn't spend however much and I got a few bargains. So let's see what I got. Okay then, so the first game that I picked up is for the SNES and it's Super Wrestlemania. He had £5 on this, and to be honest, I didn't mind paying £5 and below for any SNES game, because we know what they're like. They're getting mental with prices and that now. But this one's got a bit of label damage in the corner. So I was like, will you do it for £3, mate? He was like, I need bother. I mean, it was late in the day by this point, and no one's going to quibble over, you know, a couple of quid. They want to get rid of that stuff. And a bit of label damage, honestly, it doesn't bother me. I'm just interested if they're playing, especially if I can get them cheap. Like we say, I'm a massive tight arse, so I'm really not arsed. So to me, that's a score, £3 for a SNES game. Now, wandering around at these events are fantastic. It's like a sensory overload, so you got to kind of stay focused and not have lists made necessarily, but kind of know the stuff that you want. And I knew I wanted to pick up some cheap NES games, and yeah, I found this guy who had a big stack of NES games, and they had, you know, prices under a tenner, and I was like, I'm gonna go through them. I'm sure there's something I can get. The first one I picked up, it had £4 on, A Boy and His Blob. This is like kind of like a puzzle game, like a puzzle platformer. Basically, you have a pet blob, you're the boy, and your pet blob is kind of your ticket to you know, get around the environment and get around the level. Basically, you do this by feeding them different kind of jelly beans. So say there might be a high ledge and you give them a jelly bean, you'll turn into a set of ladders and you can climb them. Or maybe you need to give them a jelly bean to turn them into an umbrella to kind of stop overhead projectiles coming and hitting you and damaging you. So a lot of trial and error, but you know, I love these kind of games. It's kind of similar to the Abe's Oddworld thing when I did my review on that. The sort of trial and error of those games and getting through them and working out the puzzles and what you need to do, what kind of jelly beans you need to use in certain places. I kind of really enjoy those sort of games, especially as I've getting older. So that had £4 on, I was happy with that. But the same guy had Shadowgate for a £5. This is basically like a kind of point and click adventure, but on the NES. I remember I think it was supposed to be for like home computers originally, but it got ported to the NES. I've heard the interface is a bit, you know, dodgy sometimes because, you know, it should be used with a mouse on a home computer, and obviously now you're using the D-pad on the NES. But as far as I know, you know, I always see people like with this game in their collection, you know, just as like, you know, the bulk, just to build it up, you know, the filler. And I always see this game and I hear good things about it. I know the game over screen of death is like really, really famous as well. Anyway, he had £5 on that and £4 on A Boy and His Blob, and I just said to him, oh, will you take £8 for it? I mean, I'm not bothered. I see myself £1, and I got them both for £8. So I mean, 2 NES games for £8. I'm not gonna haggle over that. You know, one is, you know, just filler, but the other one's actually like a really good game. You know, not expensive or rare or anything, but you know, like a game that is good that I can actually play. Right, then these next 3 are PS1 games. The first one's Tony Hawk's Skateboarding. £3 I paid for this. To be honest, I didn't like spending loads of money on PS1 games or spending. Well, I never used to like spending money on PS1 games because I always thought I run into them in charity shops all the time, but that's getting harder and harder to do now. So, you know, for the games that I've always wanted to get that aren't that much, these fairs are like a perfect time to pick them up. It really is. So I £3 for Tony Hawk's Skateboarding. I don't need to say enough about that. It's absolute classic. I think the second one's possibly my favourite, but you know, this is where it all started. I remember when the demo came out on PS1, me and my mates just played the demo. We just used to stay up on an all-night session, just playing the demo over and over and over and over again. I was sad. Next, Duke Nukem 3D on the PS1. Now, I had this for my PlayStation 1, like in my PS1 collection when I was a youngin'. Well, I say youngin', I would have been like 13, 14 year old. It's got 18 on it. I probably shouldn't have been playing it, but just fantastic game. Everyone knows Duke Nukem. It's a first-person shooter, not like the later ones that kind of became like Tomb Raider games on the PS1. This is great, just first-person shooter, loads of humour, definitely a product of its time. Like, you know, its portrayal of women isn't exactly fantastic.
Make me time.
So definitely, you know, a product of its time, but loads of fun, great one-liners.
Don't have time to play with myself.
Duke Nukem's just like a legendary character now, despite all the bad games he's had. You know, this is an absolute classic. And £5, bollocks, I'm not even going to haggle, I just picked it up and have a class game that I wanted. Now the next one I've seen loads of people get, I picked it up, not the last Super Retro Games Fair, but the Retro Games Fair for me mate. He gave us a list and he wanted Tenchu 2 and I picked it up for him. I think I seen Chris Retroheads get one as well. Retro. I think that was the last Retro Games Fair as well. So I've definitely been on the lookout for this. I love the first one. And back in the day, I never played the second one. I did play the first one and this had £6 on it. I think it was at Sore Thumbs. It was. And yeah, I was just like, could you do us a £5 on that? And like I say, anyone's going to quibble a pun that late in the day. And he was like, I need bother, mate. So I pun for Tenchu 2. Like I say, a game I've been looking for ages. And all these PS1 games, when I'm looking like on eBay, I would have paid more than that, including postage as well. So it's worth picking them up at that price at these shows, you know. Okay, then the last lot I picked up on the day were from Steve's stall and he had loads of stuff. The first one's a PS2 game, Devil May Cry 3, and he only had £2 on this, and it comes with the Monster Hunter demo as well. So I thought that was really cool, just for £2. I've got the first two, and yeah, I mean, I always find PS2 games in charity shops, but they're mostly crap games now, or FIFA games. So when I see good games like this to add to my PS2 collection, I'm only getting games now that I'm going to play. I'm not getting the crap. And this is a game I'll play. So £2 for Devil May Cry 3. Now, Steve's got loads of different bits and bobs on his stall, but something that always interests me, and I picked some up last time, so this time I was desperate to pick up some more. And they're really, really cheap as well. It's stickers, Panini and Merlin stickers, and he's got loads on his store, like boxes full. I don't know where he finds them, so I picked some of these up. I think these are like £1 each, so you know, just class to have on the shelves. The first ones I got are the Nintendo Super Mario ones from 1992. I picked 2 of these up the last time I went, so I picked some more up because they look good on my Mario shelf and it's just cool. The other ones, WWF ones, World Wrestling Federation, what's WWE now. These are from 1992 as well, I believe. Yeah, just absolutely class to just have. I don't know what it is about these things. I think it's because they shouldn't be here. Like, these were supposed to be, you know, bought, ripped apart, and then, you know, the packaging chucked away and all that, you know, and stickers stuck in books, but they're still here surviving like this. And yeah, I've got a strange attachment for these stupid stickers now. It's strange. The last set I got was some Panini ones in that Star Wars. These are from 1996, so I don't know if these have come from just before the, you know, Lucas did the whole remaster thing where he went through Star Wars and added all the digital effects. But yeah, I mean, just cool. I love Star Wars, everyone does, but I love these stickers as well. They're cool because back in the day when I was a kid, like a lot of lads, especially in this country, stickers and cards were big deals. We used to spend a lot of our pocket money on them, and I very rarely finished the books, like, but it was just cool just getting them and swapping them on the play yard. So to have them that really should have just been discarded of, disposed of and chucked away, I've now to class. The Ben was saying he wanted to open them. I was like, didn't touch them. I've now, I might find something to do with them. Now, my final pickup was actually a gift. Now, back in July, just after the last Retro Games Fair, I put my video up and I'd mentioned in it that I'd been like looking for this particular game, but for some reason it's just gone like really high in price, and I keep saying it, I'm a right tight horse. So it was the day of NERG and I wasn't attending NERG, but I got a message on Twitter from a really, really cool guy named Ian, he asked us if I was attending the event because, you know, he had a spare copy of this particular game and he'd like to pass it on to us, which is an amazing gesture. I've had this happen before, but what I always like to ask is if it's a double, then I don't like to take from other people's collections. You know, I'd feel bad. But he assured us it was a double. You know, I picked it up for next to now in a charity shop or something, and he just wanted to pass it on to us because he knew I was after it. So he went to NERG and he pulled Chris and Gav, who were there running a competition for retro events, and he gave them the game to pass on to me. Unfortunately, I haven't seen them since then, so it's been a long time. But I just like the fact that somebody like wanted to give me a game and then I had to go and give it to Chris and Gav. That made my day. Retro. Seriously though, just an absolute amazing gesture, and yeah, I actually got my hands on the game this weekend, and it's Hogs of War for the PlayStation. Absolutely fantastic game, kind of like your turn-based combat, like Worms, with a sense of humour, but it's set in like a 3D world with pigs instead. And Rick Mail does all the voices and the commentary on the game, which just makes it for me, because I absolutely love like Rick Mail and Nate Edmondson, you know, kind of Bottom, the young ones, Filthy Rich and Cat Flap and all that. It is a great game to play. It still holds up to date. It's fantastic to play. But, you know, the highlight for me is Rick Mail's commentary. And yeah, I managed to get my hands on this. Chris from Retroheads, funnily enough, said he gave it a go, and he said he wouldn't recommend it. He said it was a load of crap.
How am I looking? How am I looking?
God, you're weird, aren't you? I mean, you're really weird.
All know this is an absolute fantastic game and a fantastic gesture from Ian. So thank you very much from the bottom of your heart, Ian. It's massively, massively appreciated. For someone to just watch my video and see that I need a particular game and then give us it, it's like, well, it's just an amazing gesture, like I say. So thank you very much for that. Hugs are warm, PS1. I'm absolutely chuffed to bits to get that. And that's pretty much it. Were you at the Retro Games Fair in Leeds on the 27th, or have you been to any other Retro Games Fairs, Super Retro Games Fairs? Are you going to any future ones? Is there any other cool events coming up that I should know about? Just let us know in the comments and we'll have a bit of a crack about it. But other than that, I'll leave you like I always do and just say thank you very much for watching, people. Hopefully I'll catch you next time. Bye.